searching searching just now and seeing if I can get a first opponent. So it's 3 minutes each side, no added time per move. If you run out of the 3 minutes, then you lose on time, you lose the game. So I've got to move very, very quickly. And my first opponent is Krokodill, rated 2047. And he's played this early wing gambit against the French. And I've responded by not grabbing the pawn, because it's very, very difficult to grab your opponent's pawn sacrifice and then hack him up as well. I mean, normally I want to be the one that's sacrificing the material if I can. So I've just declined his pawn sacrifice, and I'm playing rather positionally instead for the time being. Going to give him a little check on b4. His knight moves back here, but already you can see his queen is running a little bit short on squares. I'm going to go queen e7, just setting up a cheap threat of knight c3, queen c1, and bishop a3, trapping his queen. I don't think my opponent's going to be very happy when he realises that's what I've done, because his queen on c1 has absolutely nowhere to go. So we are going to pick up a quick win in game number 1 of Hack Attack tonight. My opponent's obviously pretty frustrated by that game, so we're going straight into a rematch. Now I have the white pieces. He's played the Sicilian. I'll play lots of different bad openings against the Sicilian, and tonight my bad opening of choice for this game is the 3 bishop b5 Grand Prix attack, popularised by English Grandmaster Gawain Jones, who wrote a book on it, and has also done a DVD on this opening as well, I believe. But it's very, very dangerous. Black isn't really supposed to allow you to take on c6 so early on. But most importantly, it's a good opening for a hack. The idea is to go queen h4, push this pawn forward to f5, bishop h6, knight g5, assuming they've castled kingside, and then mate them on h7. My opponent's being very, very reluctant to castle kingside here, so I'm just going b3 to stop him going c4. He's got doubled c-pawns, so I don't really want to allow him to go c4 and get rid of one of them. Does mean that my knight on c6 is somewhat vulnerable, but that's not a big deal. Just going to defend it, maybe bring the rook to d1. And my opponent's gone d5. The big problem with his position now is that he's left this pawn on c5 very weak, which is probably why he's decided just to sacrifice the pawn here. But I'm not really certain he's getting any compensation. Okay, I do have doubled pawns, but I'm going to bring a knight to e4 where it controls both f6 and d6, and I think things should be okay here. Just going to hold on to this pawn on c4. And really my opponent's got no choice but to castle around about here. Okay, he's giving knight f5 a whirl. If I go knight e4, he'll go knight d4. How annoying is that? Oh, it's not particularly annoying, because I can take it off, queen takes and then go king h1, and he can't take on c4 straight away because I've got knight d6 tactics. In fact, if he went bishop takes, I'd have queen takes c4, queen takes c4, knight d6 check, and then knight takes queen on c4. So he's got to watch out for those kind of tactics. Obviously I can't go bishop e3 after queen takes because the knight on e4 would be dropping. I'm assuming he must spot bishop takes c4, queen takes c4 here. But the problem for him is that if he wastes a move by going castles, which is probably his best move, then I have knight d6 anyway to protect this. But I'm not really certain what his plan is. I've just picked up a piece with this tactic. Knight's coming into d6 and coming back there. So that's a fairly comfortable start in the first 2 games tonight. I'm quite pleased. I seem to have started off quite reasonably. So we're going to search now, see if we can find some more players who want to play. I don't mind in going into quite long matches against some of the stronger players, but other than that, I just try and give everyone 2 games and then move on to someone else. Okay, so slightly tougher opponent now, or at least higher rated. D NOS from Norway, I believe. Starting off with 1e3, a bit passive, but I'm just going to ignore that and get on with playing some kind of Dutch. Let's go a classical Dutch setup here and play bishop e7 and castle kingside. Just wait and see what my opponent does in the opening here. Where's he going to put that bishop? Probably on e2. So there's no real reason for me not to fianchetto this bishop round here. And in a very similar vein to the Grand Prix attack, I've got this pawn on f5 and a queen that can swing over to the king side. Maybe h5, maybe g6. But what am I going to do with this knight? How am I going to get it into the game? Not really certain just now. Let's go queen e8 and then maybe d6 and knight d7. Got to be careful, sometimes black can castle queenside here and play an early g4. I think that might be what my opponent's trying to do. He's certainly delayed castling kingside so long that I really suspect that he's going to play this queen c2 and castles idea. It's always useful if you can try and peg your opponent on a particular plan. So I think he's going to try and castle and then play this g4 move at some moment. He's gone d4 to stop my knight coming to c5. But now I'm just going to have to take the centre. Because with this knight on e4 it makes it a little bit more difficult for him to castle queenside because I've got f2 on. Okay, knight goes back there. Now we could take and take on g2, but it's a risky pawn to grab when it's opening up this line. So instead let's go queen g6 and just keep an eye on this g2 point. Might also go bishop h4 at some moment. He's attacking this square 3 times, 2 knights and queen, defended 1, 2, 3. So if he goes bishop there, he'll attack it too many times. Bishop h4, he's got g3. Not seeing an immediate follow-up to that. Maybe knight takes and then f4, and then pawn takes f4. How am I doing on the clock? I'm doing okay. Still plenty of time for the moment. I want to try and sacrifice a piece somewhere here, but I'm not seeing it just yet. So let's get ready to open up the centre. I want the board to open up at some point, and if he goes g4, I can now go f4. That's part of my idea. And if he tries to keep the centre closed, then I'll go c5 and put a rook on c8, and generally try and smash the board open, because my king is relatively safe if this g line stays closed. And I really want to open things up so I can get at my opponent's king. Also, if he goes g4, I might have bishop h4 in some positions. So I'm feeling relatively comfortable here. Just waiting to see what my opponent's going to do. Maybe he should consider taking on e4 now. Or perhaps takes on d5 and takes on e4. But he's a bit confused what to do with his king. And that's causing him real problems. He's down to only a minute on the clock against a minute 28. Knight f3 is very, very logical. Looking to jump into e5 with his knight. It's a great outpost for the knight. It's where you want to be sticking them if you can, so they can't be chased away by your enemy pawns. But it's time to start pushing in the centre of the board. I'm going to let him have this square and say, fine, you have the centre. I'm just going to attack you wherever your king is, and you can have the nice positional bind on this square, and I'll give checkmate, and we'll see which one works out better. But right now my opponent just needs to speed up, because at the moment we're only 14 minutes into the game. We started with 3 minutes each, and he's down to just 35 seconds. And it's really a sign that this game has not gone according to plan at all. He wanted to castle queenside, and as soon as I went knight e4, attacking this f2 point, he's been really struggling for something to do. And he's just going to run out of time. So it's not looking ideal. He's down to 13 seconds. I guess he's just going to let his time run out here. Unless he's disconnected or something, but I'm not really sure. And yeah, he's disconnected. Okay, I've been challenged to some 2-minute chess by FIDE Master Kulinarist, rated 2704 on Chess.com. This is technically bullet rather than blitz at this time control, but he's a very, very strong player, playing an elephant gambit. So I'm just going to give him a couple of games, see what happens. I've been playing reasonably so far, so it'd be nice if I can give this guy a good series of games. I mean, it'll be a real challenge to win against such a strong player, because you know I'm playing and commentating and trying to be entertaining, do some hacks. I really need to check out my theory on this line, because I'm not supposed to end up with such a passive position without being a pawn up against the elephant gambit. But no big deal. We will just continue. See what happens really. Maybe knight b5, queen e5, and then we'll see. Don't really mind if he takes the queens off here, it's not that big a deal. And then castles queenside. I'll castle on this side of the board, probably a little bit being outplayed here. But if I can keep moving very quickly, then I should have some kind of chance in this game. Problem is that you can bring this knight into d4, and that's not really something that I can defend against. Bit surprised he didn't do that actually. But of course what he did was very, very sensible. And yeah, this isn't going so well right now. I'm going to bring the knight back and then put it on b3, just to defend against this. So if takes on c2, I'm going to take on c5. Just defending the best that I can here. Takes and takes on bishop e3. Minute 7, plays a minute 15. And he's managed to get a nice slight edge here. My bishop's not fantastic in this scenario. But if I can open up some lines, then all is not completely lost. But I'm just going to be a pawn down here. Maybe that wasn't really the most sensible thing for me to do, but I had to do something and I had to do it reasonably quickly. And he's going to go rook e2 at some moments as well here, I think. Probably just f6 is a very good move. Yeah, it's exactly what we see my opponent doing. Just kind of trying to get a bit of counterplay here with f4, f5. You know, because he's outplaying me, of course, so it's important for me to somehow get counterplay. Try and confuse him if I can. Oh, he's got knight c3 check. That's probably going to end things pretty quickly. But let's just see how quickly my opponent can finish me off here. He's only got 40 seconds. With this higher rating and as a stronger player as I know my opponent is, I don't really see much chance of him failing to win this position. But, you know, if you don't try, then you won't find out. And that's a pretty good way of doing it. And then rook c3. And then, yeah, he's going to pick up this bishop. So that was pretty easy. Let's see what I can do in game number 2. We'll make it a sort of 3-4 games against this guy. Just because if I beat him, it's likely to be that I'm a little bit unlikely that I'm hacking him up. And as much as it's nice for me to play against strong players, it kind of veers a little bit away from the point of hack attack, which is to just have as much fun as possible whilst playing quickly. And obviously this is very, very difficult when I'm playing against someone who's just very, very strong. In fact, probably a little bit stronger than me at this 2-minute time control. If I was going to play bullet, I'd be looking to just play straight up 1-minute chess and see what happens. But, okay, we're in some kind of weird game. My opponent opened up with 1b3, and I played another Dutch setup. And just developing pieces for the time being. He's going to go knight c4 and force my queen back again. But none of this is a real problem. I should probably take on e5, otherwise he's got bishop h5 in some positions. And then I'm just going to get castled if I can here. It'd be really nice for me to be able to get a kingside attack with f4 in. So I'll look for an opportunity to do that, even though it's certainly going to be quite tricky. And he's threatening to go bishop e3 here, which is a bit of a problem. Sorry, not bishop e3, queen b3. But if he plays it now, I can probably go bishop e7 and hold things together for the time being. Both of us have a minute 20 left on the clock. I'm just looking for a moment. I was almost moved my queen to a terrible square there. Difficult to really come up with a plan at the moment. Gonna perhaps do some tricks at some point here. Can I take this off? Well, let's find out. It takes... Oh no, I can't. Oh, it takes on e6, I can take on e5. These make it complicated. And then my knight's coming into d3 if he's not careful. So he'll take on there. And then queen f6. Hitting the bishop. Oh, we're managing to keep this relatively even, actually. I mean, I guess I'm a touch worse, but with both of us to... Oh, I missed that move. Whoops. Okay, exchange down. No worries. We will try and get f4 to work and some kind of tricks. Maybe we'll get perpetual check. Maybe we'll get more of an attack than that. We will soon find out. Our opponent's offering me the exchange back. I am not interested in that. I am going to hack you up whether it works or not. And a spoiler alert, it doesn't really work. But, you know, it's a bit more fun this way. I can always take this off, but I quite like the placement of my bishop. So here we go, just causing a little bit of mischief on this side of the board. You can have this pawn if you want to. You've got to calculate bishop takes g3 scenarios. But okay, just going to stop you invading with your pieces and see what's going on here. So now if I take, I'm not really certain. I need this rook to be in the game. So let's try rook here, and then bishop takes c7 and bishop takes there. So desperately trying to get this to there. So it's kind of an entertaining game at least. At least I hope so. And very wisely my opponent just blockades all of this. So I'll move my king up to h7 in an attempt to survive a little bit, but queen e6 looks very strong. Just going to try this and see what happens. I'm sacrificing a rook. Don't really think it works, but nothing really looked like it was going to work there. And check. Queen g4. Desperately trying for a few tricks here. And I'm going to get mated. Well played. That was good games.